This is Moments with Mary, and my guest today is Nick Palmieri, right?
Palmieri.
Palmieri. So that's Italian.
It is Italian.
It's a nice name. It's very pretty. And not to be, not to insult you. I like it. It rolls off your tongue.
It does. Well, that's one of the beauties, I think, of the Latin derivation of names. I think.
Yeah.
It's a romance language.
It is. Yeah.
By every stretch of the imagination, Italy's a beautiful place.
It really is. So you had a show here on BTV.
I did.
What was that about?
I actually had. I did a show. It was a 1-hour call-in talk show, and
a call-in.
A call-in.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was live. That presented some very interesting.
I can imagine.
There were some priceless moments on that. It started with Peter Murray had a show called Sound Off, and which really was the start of this. And I ended up as a guest on Sound Off, and Peter ended up asking me, Nick, how about if you take over for this? I'd like to do more outside of this.
Yeah.
Well, the rest was history. It lasted for quite a while. It had a few different incarnations. It ended. It was 13 or 14 years.
Wow. So you had to be pretty well-rounded if people are calling in and talking and asking you questions. You had to know what's going on in town.
You had to hope you did.
Yeah. Cover all things.
Absolutely. And it was a lot of fun. I love to be challenged, and certainly, and it did make me, though I've always been very politically active. I have since my late teens, and so it just really made that much more of a concrete issue for me to make sure I was informed and the best I could be. And we're talking about in the 70s and 80s. The media isn't what it is today.
Yeah.
So not everything was in front of you. You had to really do some digging at that particular time. I ended up serving on the school committee in West Bridgewater, and I realized as a young man that politics is a blood sport in this town. And this not just town, that's wrong, in the country.
Yeah, it is.
And I hope that's something that we can get into a little bit when we discuss local issues with politics. So
it really has.
But anyway, so it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Certainly. I had, it was a lot of fun. I had guests. I had some very interesting guests. I mean, one of mine, it was probably one of the funnier shows. I had Rex Trailer.
Who's he?
And pardon?
Who was he?
Rex Trailer was a local, not local here, but on Boston television. He had a show, a kids show, if you will. It aired on Sunday mornings, and it involved music and a variety of issues. And I guess you could almost look at this as the 1960s version of daycare.
Oh, okay.
Because it went on, it was a long show.
Yeah.
But kids, he had a live audience, and you could register to get on. I know people locally that did get onto the show, and it was good. It kept kids occupied. And it was very interesting. He had all kinds of things on there, and so Rex was on. He came. He was an older gentleman.
So you opened your show to everybody.
Yeah.
That was good. Because some people keep it closed.
Yeah, no, I wanted to make it eclectic. I had political figures on. I had
both parties.
Sports figures. I had a pitcher from the Yankees on.
Really?
And it was interesting. I had Larry Klayman, the chairman at the time of Judicial Watch.
Wow.
He came up, and it was really interesting to have a different type of show that appealed to everybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't have a live audience until that particular show, the Rex Trailer show, and just a cute little footnote to that. When the show was over, when we opened the door to leave, there were about 20 people
Wow.
outside.
So they knew him well.
They wanted to come, and yeah,
That's nice.
it was really a tribute to him.
Yeah.
And he was the greatest guy. I mean, he's autographing, and I just, wow, this is so cool. So
I've heard a lot about your show, and I think that's why I kind of now want to turn to a little bit more like your show that you had. Open to the politics, have different people, rather than just stay local. Expand a little bit more, but definitely about the politics. And I know it might be tough, but stuff we have to talk about.
Without question.
Yeah. So because of all that stuff you did, now you're the president of the Republican Party for Bridgewater.
I am. Thank you.
And how's that going?
Yes. So far, I believe it's going well. I think that it's important to have active politics and a dialogue, whether it's the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, I guess if you continue adding, if it's the Libertarians, honestly, we are, whether we like it or not, we are a two-party system.
Yeah.
And it's been proven, unfortunately, for so many times. Ross Perot, when he ran as a third party, you could see none of that has ever really risen to the level that the Republicans and the.
I remember growing up, if you didn't want to be a Republican or a Democrat, you're independent. But now they call it undecided.
Right, unenrolled.
Yeah. Unenrolled. Okay.
Which I was for a short period of time. Because you know how if you want to vote in a primary and you want to vote opposite your registered party, you had to either enroll as an unenrolled, if you will, or as the other party. And I did one year, and I just didn't quickly change back, and it really kind of troubled me, knowing the kind of person that I am, that I said, come on, Nick, you take stands.
Yeah.
So
you got to take a stand.
Take a stand, and I did. So, but anyway, and it's a funny thing. I was very clear with, and I think you were at that meeting actually when I first was inducted, if you will, that I was clear in that I identify as a conservative more than a Republican. I don't agree with every single thing the Republican Party espouses. I'm a conservative, both fiscal and socially.
That's how I feel, and I'm a Christian. So I mean,
Me too.
you know what I mean. But you have to pick between two presidents. But the good thing is, when it's just down to two presidents, whether I'm a Democrat or Republican, I can vote for whoever I want.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I as well. And it's about, I look at their ideologies. It doesn't matter if you're, a Democrat or a Republican to me. It's what you stand for.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in my opinion, I think the left has gotten a very radical arm. I know that there will be those that will argue that the MAGA side of for instance, the Republican Party is somewhat similar, and I agree to a point. They're just more conservative, which would be more, in my way of thinking. So, of course, they're backing the Republican candidate, so hence, that's where it would be for me. But
growing up, I've never seen such a division. I mean, President Trump just stopped 8 wars in the Gaza, which no one has ever seen before and thought possible. And the Democrats are having a hard time acknowledging that or trying to take it, well, we started it and stuff. It was never like that before.
No.
It was never like that before.
No.
So the kids that are growing up and the violence and stuff they were having, we didn't have that. You argued, but you didn't hate each other. You didn't stop talking to your families. That it's just kind of like grown for hatred rather than making our country better, our towns better.
I have to admit, I agree 100% that I don't think I've ever seen the political field so galvanized
Yeah.
in my lifetime. And we've seen some interesting candidates out there and presidents. The political landscape has changed.
Well, what confuses me is where, because I mean, everyone loved Trump, and he's a great builder. He had his own, the show, Apprenticed.
Mm-hmm.
So are they angry because an outsider came in? I mean, and when you see it, you think, yeah, a businessman, I think, is better to run the country than a politician.
Amen.
And when I was looking at stuff, and I could have get it wrong, but I thought the amendment, the 13th Amendment, was actually started as a lawyer could not become in politics because they know how to manipulate laws.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And what is the largest percentage
They're lawyers.
of lawyers?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is true, and I agree. The 13th Amendment kind of put that in perspective, if you will. But so many things have happened. I mean, you had a president, Obama, who basically said, well, it's kind of a fluid thing, that the Constitution. No, it's not.
No.
We've got the longest running Constitution in the world.
Well, that's why we're the strongest country. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? We have that. We have freedoms they can't take away,
Right.
and we can stand on that.
Well, you know what troubles me? I see all these people, and this is a kind of an interesting thought process when you look at it. You have all these people that say how much they hate this country. They don't like what it is. They don't like the president, but they stay here.
Yeah.
See ya. Go back someplace. Go find another country that's better. They don't. That's why we had so many problems with the illegal immigration. And it wasn't immigration. It was a migration, if you will. And why would they all come over here if it was so bad?
Yeah.
Are they just trying to destroy this country? Are they jealous of it? I think that's true.
I think some, and some, I mean, if I was a family with a couple of kids and I could get out of, like, especially Mexico with the cartels and stuff, I would make that journey. I mean, some of those countries they're coming from.
I agree. Do it legally. I mean,
but they opened your President Biden opened the gate.
Yep, literally.
And
I saw that down there.
I know it might be illegal to come across, but if he opened that gate, my life was struggling so hard, and I was living under cartels or fear in some of those countries where they have it, I would definitely make the journey to come over here because once you get here in the United States, you're safe.
True. We made it way too easy.
Well, yeah, I don't think we should because, I mean, we got the cartels and all the gang members, and who wouldn't? I mean, if I was a gang member, because I'm thinking, why would they come over here? Well, to take over another country and have that flow of drugs and stuff.
Well, doesn't it appear, odd to anyone out there other than people like ourselves when you have the president now literally declaring war on the cartels?
Yeah.
And that's justified in many respects. And yet you have the progressives attacking him for that.
I know. There's no such thing as disappearing people. They had a crime, and they take away. And we're not separating. I mean, they say we're separating parents from their children. I worked there's a group called Angels, and mothers are in prison. So they would write us letters, and we would get a gift so we could give it to the child from their mother. So those mothers were taken away from their children because they broke the law.
Right.
So it's the same thing here.
It is, and that was all rhetoric. And you know what troubles me about the left especially, the right does it too, but to a greater degree the left, when it comes to, it's like they just say things and it's like a challenge. Go ahead, find a way to pick me apart. But once it's said, you can't unhear it.
Yeah.
And
well, Nancy Pelosi said, if you say something and you say it long enough and hard enough, everybody will believe it.
Joseph Goebbels said that too.
Yeah, and she repeated that at one of the things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, she's the same person who said that we'll find out what's in the bill after we pass it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty intelligent when you're dealing with billions of dollars of taxpayer money.
Maybe I'll try that at the council.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I'm joking, obviously.
I know, me too.
And I know you are too.
Yeah.
You know what? That's actually a really good segue.
Yeah.
To talk a little bit about
the town council.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was very heated over the TIF district. But cordially, I got to say, everybody, listened to each other. They didn't boo, they didn't yell, and I was impressed with that.
Yeah. You know what? I think that it showed a couple of things. hopefully, to the town of Bridgewater. First of all, we had previously gone through a very anxious, if you will, period where we were looking at an override.
Yeah, I'd like to talk that afterwards.
And there was a lot of back and forth, but a lot of things came out that I think that people in the community, obviously, overwhelmingly, voted against it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a sign. Your constituents are trying to tell you, of course, in the council, something about where they are looking to focus. And here we are again with this TIF scenario. A lot of issues with that really scaled even the intent of what a TIF was designed to do, in my opinion. And I know that you actually were one of the people that back meetings ago raised the point about the fact that, wait a minute, a TIF on its face was designed to be done as a precursor. We're trying to attract, not you don't take and in the case here, which really had so many questions to so many people, that why would you just give it? It's like buying a home, and you after everything's signed and financing secured, the seller goes back to the buyer and says, "Hey, how about if I drop the price another $50,000. Who is going to say no to that from the buyer's side? But who would be crazy enough to do that on the seller's side?
Yeah.
And the town would have been the seller, and in that essence, because of course, ultimately, it would have meant a loss of tax dollars.
I think it would have advanced other TIF areas because they were already talking about that. And I thought what Stefano brought up, let's do a TIF to track commercial and the commercial thing. I'm all for that. I'm all for helping those kind of things.
I am too, but there's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
This is not the time.
Not for
in the
apartments.
history of Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And you know what? We have to. It's really troubling to me where I had my time. I ran for selectman back in 1998, and one of the loudest issues raised by the candidates in the town was, why can't we bring good business into the town?
Yes.
Well, guess what? It's been going on for a long time. It's Bridgewater. We have to resign ourselves to the fact that we are a bedroom community. And so if that's the case, why are we out there trying to solicit apartments? And you have the state telling us to put in units, which to me is an abomination, frankly. The 3A issue. And that's being fought. I hope it actually does get overturned, to be very honest with you. I think people are tired of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts making mandates that are technically unfunded.
Well, she's kind of changed her thing. If you look at the mass ad leads, because we were looking at what she was talking about, the TIF district and the requirements. So then she changed that. So it's called the Mass Act Leads now.
Right.
But she's pushing businesses, not apartments, because she's got the MBTA and she's taking the state property. So if we look at those businesses and try to get them enticed to come down in Elm Street, I'm sure that we'll even get things back from the governor because certain ones. And then we got the college that, the interns can go over there and do their internships and stuff. So we need that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
I agree. I was the head of the Bridgewater Business Association for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And we tried to focus on bringing businesses into the town of Bridgewater. It wasn't always easy. The town has, for as long as I can recall, we almost had what was known as the South Shore Mall in Bridgewater. And that just disappeared, and who knows what would have happened.
But I think we're at a point now that we really should. I mean, when we had that town council meeting, and they brought up, that the TIF district doesn't always have to have a lot of, commercial. They brought in Haverhill that had 2, but there was a list of 15 different places. And it was all different businesses that had a lot. So Haverhill was the only one that had, they get a district and they only had 2 employees. But all the other ones they didn't pick that had 15 other communities that it was businesses and bringing in 64 jobs and stuff like that. That's what we're looking for.
You're right. And you know what? That's a perfect point because think about that. If you do something ahead of time, this is it. This is what we are looking for. We're willing, under these conditions, to give this to you. Because it is a gift for all intent and purposes to any developer, as opposed to what we did. This was wrong on so many levels, unfortunately. And you know what?
And Janet Hansen's answer has never been answered, and I don't know the answer either. Who encouraged him to apply for a TIF? I have no idea. I haven't got the answer, and I'm a town council.
Yeah, we do. So. Well, you know what? There's probably good reason for that. Unfortunately, listen, I as a developer, I can appreciate them saying, yeah, that's a great idea. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, if I was on his side, why not?
Without question. But the town council is there for the will of the people of the community that they serve. And that's where this was falling apart. And I got to tell you, I know you know how I feel about this. I was very proud of people such as yourself that night looked around and said, my constituents are not really in favor of this.
No, we got a lot of emails. I did get a lot of emails for yes, too. But the overwhelming is no. And then looking at, is this the best for the town?
Right.
So I try to listen to my residents, both sides, and they go, is this going to be profitable? Is this going to be something good for my,
Well, you know what? There's something there, too, that's important. And I will say, do try to bring out questions during conversations on the council so people can understand a little bit of what's being proposed, whatever it may possibly be. And that's important. In this case, there were residents that were coming into this not having full knowledge of what it totally meant because, when they were being told by certain members of the council, well, we're not voting for a TIF per se, we're voting for a TIF district so we can discuss it. Well, that's actually not completely true because once that TIF district in this case had been voted, if that were true, it would have automatically started the negotiation for a TIF. So one literally was necessary for the other in that.
Which I don't understand. I mean, why? Say if we had a TIF land and someone wanted it, we'd be negotiating first before we gave it to him.
Bingo.
And that's how I looked at it.
Because you could say, we're looking for a commercial property, not residential, commercial property, and we're willing to look at upwards of a 5-year or a 7-year or whatever, tax increment funding program for you. And they would come in and say, listen, we're interested, but here's what we want to do. Okay, then it's up to you as a council to make a determination. Well, you know what? We've also got another builder who's willing to do this without any questions on it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's the difference. Now, you know what the intriguing thing is? Everything, even the TIF, if you will, the TIF was designed, as politicians want to do, using taxpayer funds for all intent and purposes.
Yeah.
It's nothing is free.
No.
And even air anymore. And that really just cut across the grain there. And I was I really was, I was very, it was so uplifting to see the amount of people we had that came. And it was very also interesting and very telling that evening when the chairman of the council said, we're going to have the people that are in favor of it speak first. Well, there were 3 people.
Yeah.
And there must have been 35 people in that audience, easily.
There was.
And that's what my attempt was going to be when I asked, I'd like to just, can we take this? How many people here raise your hand? He didn't want me to do that. And I know why he didn't want me to do that, because it would have exposed the underbelly, which was, they're all against this. And these are people that literally, if you asked every one of them, they would have had to give their name and their address. So it was all verifiable.
Yeah. But I mean, I know all people can't come to the meetings.
Correct.
And I got a lot of no's that couldn't come, and they want me to vote no, and a lot of yes that couldn't come. So, I don't know, even if he did the count, that would take in consideration, because I have to consider all the people that reached out to me in my email.
Correct.
That can't come. But yeah.
So those plus that.
Yeah.
I think, based on what I have heard from other counselors, it sounded like the ones that were willing to tell me that their responses were overwhelmingly against, as opposed to for. And that was shown even on the online poll that, though I totally understand it was unscientific, if you will, that Merrill Lee Hunt, and I applaud her for putting that out there, that it was, once again, overwhelmingly negative. And what was interesting is that was, I think, a huge plus because of the fact, and I know that I put a piece out there myself, and I got the same kind of responses that she did, but there was a lot of explanation and people taking, and putting out what they thought were facts.
That's what I like. Even whether I'm listening to both sides, I like to hear both sides. Why would you vote for this? What do you see the benefit of the town?
Truly.
And why shouldn't we vote for it? So I do. But the emails, it wasn't just emails that saying, I don't want you to. It was well written out on both sides. Their side, why I think you should do that, and why you should do it. And this was the first time that I've gotten such in-depth for both reasonings. It was hardly any that said, just vote no. They were, they knew. It seemed like the people got very educated on this TIF district.
Without question.
Yeah.
And you know what's, I got to tell you, I've had this conversation with a lot of people that were involved in this.
Yeah.
And they felt exactly like you did. And you know what? There is a thinking out there, perhaps this might be a really good way to start tending this information out there, because you're right. A lot of people don't have the time. They work. They've got families. They've got all kinds of things going on. Yeah, they don't have the time to get to every. God bless you guys for being at those meetings all the time. That's a lot of a commitment, and it will give people an opportunity to kind of air their views publicly and get pushback or agreement.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great educational tool in many respects, because that's what it's become.
Yeah.
I don't have Facebook. I don't have this. Well, there are other avenues, but you know what? It's a cross section of the community.
We got well. I mean, when he first came and talked about it, Tiff, I hadn't kind of knew, but I'll tell you, I've gotten into, and being on the TIF ad hoc, I learned a lot too. And a lot of people, if they couldn't attend, they were online listening. So even if you don't ask questions, you're listening to the conversations to be educated.
No, I agree with you. I did finance for 20 years, and so I was familiar with the TIF, but I didn't know all the ins and outs because it had been around me. But that stimulated, my interest to, let me just check this. And the more I learned, the worse this sounded, the way this particular scenario is being painted. And
because we weren't using it the way it was supposed to be used.
Correct.
And I feel, kind of bad for the Comio, because, I mean, if he got caught in the crossfires of...
He did.
You know what I mean? He came here maybe because of the form-based code, started it, and then was whatever, the TIF, and that just kind of... I mean, I'm hoping... I met with him. I like his designs. He's excited about it. So I hope that continues even without the TIF, and we can help in any way we can. We can't with the TIF, but we're here to support him. I think it would be great to have a nice place over there, and people can actually start walking. And Perkins is going to be there, so I'm looking forward to it. I was never against the building itself.
You know what? There's the only issue I see with the central the CBD district. Unfortunately, a lot of look. Truth be told, to step back for a second, I did not vote in favor of the current form of government, the town council form of government. I felt that the purest form of government was town meeting that we had before with a group of selectmen. We are a town, and I think anybody who does their homework and looks at what this council, it's city council, we are. It says literally on our charter that it's a city, and if that's what the people want or wanted, I think there was just a lot of fatigue relative to town meetings, and I think that was by design, unfortunately, my opinion. But I think that we need to really bring forward a lot of what we lost. And one of the things was that our, for instance, planning board, when it comes to the CBD, they do not make the determinations. They are there as an advisory board. And they're not elected anymore either. They're appointed. So they're not, quote unquote, they're unelected bureaucrats, if you will. And so in the finer sense, they're not technically responsible to the voters. You know that, okay, I have to think about, like you, I have to think about how my constituents feel. And as you know, I think this has come up several times. It's factual. It's literally in the charter, where it is the politician per se, as it, in their purest form, they are representatives of their constituents, because without the constituents, they would not be in office.
True.
So when it's boiled down, I think it needs to be hammered into any politician, whether they're state, local, or municipal, or federal. It needs to be hammered that you serve at the will of your constituents. Now, it is up to you as a politician to say, okay, I may not look at this the way everybody else does. So yes, you are supposed to advocate for your side or your opinion, but at the final point, when the vote is about to come, you have to put your opinion aside and say, you know what, if 75% of the people that I talk to that are in my constituency are against it, I have to vote against it as well. Because
it's a good point. But as a town council, I do that, but it comes with pushback. Because like if, a group that supported me or voted for me, and they're not happy because I'm going by what all the residents want, I get pushback from them. So I know they're going to give me pushback, and I still do what the residents want. And I try to explain to the pushback, about why I'm doing this, because the residents want this. A group of residents come. I get a lot of emails, and it's the way it is. So it's kind of hard. It takes a thick skin. So you have to kind of go like, okay, I'm doing it because the residents want this, and this is what the most residents want. And the group that supports me is going to be mad at me, but I can't. I guess got to tell them. One of the questions that Peter asked us when I was running, how can you separate your opinion and do what the residents want? And because he said that, that's what I say all the time. I can't do my opinion or what a group wants me to do. The majority of the residents is what I have to listen to.
And you know what? You're right. Having served myself, I have to say that, I give my father a lot of thanks. He was very, very involved politically. So growing up, I had this around me, and we would have these dinner table conversations, and politics always came up. And that was his opinion, that, it's not about this person.
Yeah.
This isn't, they shouldn't be voting this way. Every person that, I have talked to is totally against that. Let's hope that they understand this is their job. Their job is not to take and say, well, too bad, I don't care what my people want. I can't stand this, so I'm going to vote a certain way. Once politicians someday hopefully will get back to that purism, if you will, I think this will be a much better world, state, country.
I think we got to get rid of the lobbying. There's too much temptation.
that lobbying is exactly what you just described a few moments ago when you said the group
Yeah.
that supported me.
But they just don't like me. They're not,
No.
they're going to, you know what I mean?
No, but you said it perfectly.
Yeah.
They're saying, Mary, come on. Hey, listen, I supported you, so you got to vote
Yeah.
you don't own me.
Right.
You know
But
who owns me?
lobbying, they offer a lot of money to support a politician's campaign and other stuff. And I think it's gotten out of control.
It's ridiculously
Yeah,
out of
it's-
control.
yeah.
And you know what? The root of all of it, shamefully, is money.
Yeah. Because, I mean, what if I'm like a senator and if I don't get the backing, I'm not going to be senator again.
Right.
So, I mean, it puts their job on hold.
Mm-hmm.
It just puts a lot of pressure on these people, and it's difficult.
You know what? When you think about it, then it becomes an ethical and moral
Yeah.
within.
Yeah.
So what's more important? That what is it? Be true to thine own self.
Yeah.
And that's what was thrown at me as I was 19 when I ran for office, and I just remember when I made the decision to do that. We had a meeting with a group of us and people that I greatly respected, and one of them, a woman, basically said that to me.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about it, I says, well, what my dad said, that I'm supposed to represent the people and I got to vote with them. And she said, Nick, be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And you know what you're supposed to do. It's not what you think you're supposed to do, but what you are truly supposed to do in office. And she said, that's exactly what it is. It's the
Well,
people.
we see the lower level, but can you imagine like a senator? I mean,
Without
having
question.
like, a powerful company, and now they know that they might, start a scandal against them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because we've seen that where they'll say something about someone in politics, find out it's not true, but at the time, you know what I mean? So I think just lobbying should be, it should not be there.
Well,
Take it away from them.
I believe it was the Speaker of the House of Massachusetts who made the statement that, ladies and gentlemen, this politics in Massachusetts is a contact sport, as he called it.
It certainly is.
And he was 100% right.
Well, we have election coming up, and there's a lot to deal with it. But the MMA, you know them.
Yep.
So they put out a report.
And do you want to tell people what the MMA?
It's the Massachusetts. It covers covers towns and cities
Correct.
and all that.
Yep.
So they put out a report on overrides because it was, it's crazy of the stuff that's going on. So in 2015, 22 overrides were attempted, but last year 53 were, and they were looking at why, and it's how the governor gives our taxes back. So our taxes we give to the governor, and we used to get national. The states give 31% back to the towns and the cities, in federal aid and all that. We only get back 26. That's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
So they did a whole study on this and how everyone is trying to do an override, and they figured because they can't keep their lights on, they're letting off libraries, the police is done because she's not giving it back. She has a $6.1 billion a budget this year. I think it's billion or trillion. I think it's billion.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah. So it's a really good report on that, and I think we should look into that to help. Figure out why we're not getting taxed back like other in the nation. So it's an interesting thing to read and then ponder because we have 3 males that are running so far against Haley.
You're right. Right.
And we should be questioning them. The MMA they're gonna help. They're gonna do I think they said they were gonna do some. They're gonna look for aid for town services. So they're gonna look to see how to help us. They're gonna plan on releasing a set of policy recommendations to put cities and towns back on a path towards financial stability. So I think everyone should really look at that because I know we're already talking about an override. Mm-hmm. So we should look at this and really reach out. I'd like to get someone from MA on and, put a hold on the override, see what this is.
Do you think it'd be possible to get somebody from the MMA to come and speak at a council meeting?
That's true. I even thought, well, like it even at the podcast, because to start it. And then
Right.
once they do their recommendations, have them, because they're working on the recommendations. This is just the report. It's like, why is Massachusetts doing so bad? Why are so
Right.
many towns asking for overrides? And why all the people saying no because they can't afford it?
Well, I think it's become evident that there are many states that, it's kind of funny. It's not their money; it's our
It's
money,
our money.
and they're not providing the funds that they should be. I mean, look, people forget that prior to 1913, there wasn't an income tax,
Yeah.
and well, how did everything run? It ran very well, and it was based on how the funny part of it is a lot of it was tariffs at the time, but that I think needs to be enumerated, that information,
Yeah.
to let people realize that. Now, hopefully, we can have somebody who is in charge of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Granted, we probably will still have a left-sided House and Senate,
Yeah.
and that can create friction when it comes to.
But if we
get stuff together.
expose, and we really push this report, and we really bring it out, and I like to have someone on it, and then that's a good idea. After they make their recommendations, have someone come to the town council, then maybe people think twice about how they vote.
Right.
Put aside what side you're on and what's best for your children and your grandchildren. We want our kids educated well. We can't have all the money that we need for the schools.
Mm-hmm.
We need police and fire.
You do.
So it's interesting that they came forward with this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a good time because it's before the election.
Very smart. You hinge on something else too, and that really goes into the monetary aspect of that is that the town of Bridgewater. I think people are kind of pulling back a little bit on their own finances. Without question, I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen in the next 6 months. There's a potential of a market correction that's been talked about. Look at gold and silver.
Yeah.
Gold just hit another record high. That's insane. And what is gold? Gold has historically been a hedge
Yeah.
against a negative economy. And so when you put that in perspective, people are thinking and saying, I wonder. I don't know if you saw just recently I believe it was I forgot what group came out with the figure that foreclosures
Yeah.
have risen.
Yeah.
And they were low for a while. Now they're up. Why is that? Why is it now? Plus, there was a company that was doing automobile loans that literally it looked like it was almost like a Ponzi scheme, the way they were running their finances. They were rehypothecating the same asset constantly, which is very similar to that type of a scenario. And that company went bankrupt, and now there's a lot of auto loans that are being called. So people out there with cars, you could see there's something going on here, and people are, I think, subconsciously starting to work that way. The town of Bridgewater is no different. So here we have an override that was denied. Now you have this. They're giving away my money with a TIF, if you will.
Yeah.
So
I thought
we're
Donna
against it.
Jewell explained it very well.
She did, absolutely.
If anyone has any confusion, I'd watch her.
Yep.
Yeah.
She
hit it all.
That was an excellent statement.
It was.
And it was perfectly timed.
Yeah.
Right near the,
Right near the end,
Yep.
foot in your mind.
Yep.
Yep.
And I that's true. That is absolutely
Yeah.
You're right. Donna did an awesome presentation.
Yeah.
And it did explain a lot. But here's where we are. As she put it, we don't need to give $5,000 away. We don't need to give $5 away. We have the town of Bridgewater is in need of shoring up their own finances. And I know that we do have some reserves, but we just took money out of reserves to pay to the schools.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people know
No,
that.
I mean, if you look at the report, a lot of, I think it's like 50 communities in Massachusetts are really struggling. And so we're not the only ones.
No.
So it's because we're not getting our federal, our
Correct.
state back. So maybe our governor needs a doge.
Oh, they do. Unfortunately, with government, you've seen that just because the voters tell them to do something, I mean, they're still waiting on an audit that the voters voted for.
Yeah.
and they aren't doing it, and they're not doing it for a good reason. I think they realize that things will come out that they probably don't want us to see the light of day because it'll adjust.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I thought I saw a little bit of that, but I'm not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
So the other ones that coming up is the mayor of Boston. I know we have nothing to do with that, but I mean, I feel bad because my parents grew up in Boston. My kids, we hopped on the train all the time. She's destroying our city. I mean, they had riots on October 7th and that's sad. Pro-Palestine, because I mean that was the time when all those families were killed. But 4 policemen have broken bones from that, and they set a car on fire. I know 13 was arrested, but I mean that's Boston. I mean that's the one that has Paul Revere, and we started the whole thing. It really saddens me. And then they had the street.
The street block.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that there is movement. We've got groups out there, this Antifa group and so on. They are very, very well funded. Unfortunately, it looks like, from what we've been able to gather, that they're being funded through the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations. Where do those people get that money? That money comes from you and me. That comes from federal tax dollars being given to those organizations. So once again, here we are funding our own demise, and there's a lot of that. People should not be allowed to block roadways. I mean, think about it.
Well, first they were I guess they were on the Common, but then they started blocking ambulance. But the street riots, they had 4 different communities.
Correct.
And then they kind of came together in the South End, and it just erupted.
Yeah, that news went national.
Yeah.
And, that wasn't
because
a good
people look at Boston as, it's a tough little town. I mean,
Yep.
look, it shut the whole thing down during when that bomb went off at that race. And, you go through the trails of, independence and all that. And it's always been a place that you could come in the gardens and stuff safe. And now it's just like, I don't know. It saddens me. I haven't been in there for a while because I just watch it on TV and I'm like, it's so sad.
Well, I mean, like you, my family, they were all in Boston. My grandparents raised all of their children in Boston.
My parents got Mission Hill and the church there.
Absolutely. My North End. They were in Dorchester. And at Somerville, it's Revere. All of these areas, I know where my family was. We'd go every weekend, go visit, and nobody felt uncomfortable.
No.
But today, I mean, I know people that they'd love to go to dinner in Boston, but they won't because they're afraid.
Yeah.
And legitimately so when you look at this. And I think the mayor has done an extremely poor job. This sanctuary thing is gotten out of hand.
Yeah, they say, I mean, we have, I think, like 5 sanctuary cities, and I know Governor Haley says we're not a sanctuary state.
But it's listed.
But it's listed, and one of the reasons it shows that because we don't help ICE. And that blows my mind that we wouldn't help criminals. I mean, and they're trying to label it as other stuff, and it's sad. It's just making more hate among people. You know what I mean?
It's being fomented.
Yeah.
And there's, what it is unfortunately, once again, we live in a world that it's all about agendas, and the agenda there it's very anti-American because they don't like the president. And hatred can destroy you. Here's a guy that look, I don't agree with everything he says or does. I think sometimes
I don't think there was a president that I did.
No, literally, I agree with you. But you know what I look at? What did they accomplish? That's what I want to see. What are you doing to help America? Is every action that he's performed been perfect? Not at all. I mean, there are things I disagree with, but look what he just did with Gaza. How many presidents do you know? He's I don't know if you ever read his book,
I've read a lot
Art of the Deal.
Because when I was in college for international businesses, all they did was talk about like Trump and some of the other guys that do clothing line and Tommy Hilfiger. Because if you want to learn, you look at who's successful.
Success, correct.
Yeah. But the hate. He came out. I mean, it's not really Trump. It's Bobby Kennedy looking into healthcare, and you see TikToks where pregnant women hate Trump so much that they're taking Tylenol.
Insane.
I look at it and think, what happened?
Well, look at the woman. She almost died.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that to? I have my own thinking here, but
Yeah.
why would you do that, knowing you have
I'd take a chance.
a precious child
Yeah.
in your womb, and that is a problem because we have a faction in this world, let alone the country, that doesn't believe that when a woman's pregnant, that's a child.
I think the problem is we live on media and we don't, because I had one girl, I think it's the same one that came up to you at Autumn Fest and talking about, hating Trump. And I said, have you ever listened to Trump speak? You listen to someone who tells you what Trump said. I
Right.
said, even if I didn't vote for a president, I always listen to Obama, his speech, because I don't want someone else telling me. And I think that's the problem. They just quickly look on their phones
Yep.
or the clips on media. And so it's keep feeding into their head.
Mm-hmm.
But they've never stopped and actually listened to Bobby Kennedy or President, any of them.
Well, it's for a lot of people, it's an echo chamber.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it as, you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. You want to know what other people are thinking so you can understand, and then you formulate whatever it is you're looking to bring forward as an idea based on what you believe, what they believe, and
Yeah.
what is out there.
I mean, even when I go to church as the priest or a pastor and they talk about it, I go home and look at my Bible. It's like, is he telling me what it is, or is he bringing that out of context? You have to do that you have to listen to people whether you like them or not, so you can form your own opinions.
I agree. I'm not in favor of churches, regardless of what denomination, being in a position where they get involved politically.
Yeah.
I think religions.
Well, I meant,
a
like
great
when the
thing.
pastor says something in the Bible, and I even go back and look at the Bible and say, oh, did he take it out of context? Because you're so used to people taking things out of
Easy to do.
context. Yeah, so I mean, if they want to say who they're voting for or their opinion, I don't have a problem with that. It's just like when he quotes Bible verses, and then says, well, this is what this means. I go look and read the whole thing. And I think people should listen to politicians, whether you like them or not, and not listen to what I'm telling you what Trump said or Obama said. So,
Right, and that's the problem. People get their information from people that they align with.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to have that a kind of thought process. And but I am like you when it comes to people quoting from the Bible. I even take in readings at Mass. I will go back and I want to see what is before it and after it, because
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
you get the whole context, because you know what it is? I don't want to live in a soundbite society.
Yeah, exactly.
God says you aren't supposed to judge. Let's go back into that. I want to see exactly how when you read exactly that whole piece, it's a little.
Sometimes they
different
take
than
it to
that.
make it a little story. But if I'm doing that when it comes to the Bible, I certainly should be doing it when it comes to politicians.
Correct.
Watching. We're going to have to, it's been an hour.
Holy mackerel.
I know.
Okay.
So we'll have to get back, if you want to come back like every other week and we'll just talk about the craziness that's going on or whatever.
I would be honored if you would have me. Thank you. This has been great. Kudos to you.
No, it's after, I watched you and I think, do I step out and do that at this time? But I think, if people don't hear both sides, and I'm willing to have someone come in, if they behave, talk, I can talk to anyone. But I don't like the yelling and the screaming. I just kind of walk away from that because I don't really get anything out of that. But I appreciate it.
Yeah. No. Thank you. Thank you. I absolutely thank you for having me. I've enjoyed BTV for years and years. I volunteered for a long time, and I had a lot of fun. There's great people here. This is an unbelievable gem.
I don't think people realize, I didn't even until I started coming here and looking around and stuff.
Yep.
And my grandson kind of pushed me to doing a podcast, and here I am.
Awesome.
An older generation, we're doing the podcasts.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, it's great.
I know. Are we that old? Oh, I don't know.
No, we're young generation.
Yes, we are.
Oh, thank you very much, Nick. I really
You're
appreciate
very
you
welcome.
coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right.